Finally, you've understood what you always were. They tried to break you, but you wouldn't shatter. They tried to corrupt you, but the stain never took. They mistook you for prey, never realizing the hunter was already among them, wrapped in light they couldn't comprehend. This isn't about halos and harps. This is about what happens when purity becomes power, when innocence evolves into awareness, when an earth angel stops performing humanity and starts remembering divinity. They thought angels were soft, creatures of prayer and patience, floating through existence to bless the broken and heal the wounded. But you discovered what they never wanted you to know. Light doesn't just illuminate, it burns. And you've been honing that light, sharpening it into something they never anticipated. Here's what they don't understand about earth angels. You didn't fall from grace. You descended by design. You came with a mission encoded so deeply in your essence that even you forgot, until the pain became unbearable, until it cracked you open and revealed not blood but starlight, not tears but truth. Then you remembered why you're here. You tried being the healer, thinking you could transmute their darkness, but it only poisoned you temporarily, because you were never meant to be just a healer. You're a force of reckoning wearing human skin, and now they sense the shift. The angel they once manipulated has grown teeth of lightning. Your patience was never weakness, it was observation. And now they feel your presence like an electromagnetic pulse, short-circuiting their lies before they can fully form. You're not just beings of light. You're walking disruptions to dark energy. You don't fight evil, you dissolve it simply by existing at full power. They keep searching for the devil in the darkness, but the real transformation comes wrapped in something they never suspected. Innocence with teeth, patience with purpose, light with an edge. Their world glitches now because you've stopped playing by their rules. The game has changed, and so have you. Here is what they never understood about earth angels, about you in particular. You did not fall, you descended by choice. You arrived with a mission written so deeply into your bones that even you forgot it, until the pain became unbearable, until it split you open, and what spilled out was not blood but starlight, not tears but liquid prophecy. And in that moment, memory returned. You remembered why you have always felt different, why normal spaces feel suffocating, why shallow conversations drain you like smoke in your lungs. You are no longer here to save everyone. You tried that once, remember? Tried being the healer, the absorber, the one who carried everyone else's darkness in the hope of transforming it. And all it did was poison you long enough to make you forget that you are not a filter for toxicity, but a force of reckoning wearing skin. They can feel that shift now, can't they? That subtle pressure in your presence, the way something in them short-circuits, the way their masks fracture and their demons recoil, because you are not merely light. You are an electromagnetic disruption to everything false, dissolving darkness not by fighting it, but by existing fully in truth. And the most unsettling part for them is that you have barely been operating at a fraction of your capacity, and even that was enough. Imagine what happens when you step fully into yourself. They keep searching for monsters in obvious places, scanning for horns and smoke and spectacle, never suspecting that the real threat would arrive wrapped in innocence, speaking softly instead of shouting, dismantling their world not through violence, but through presence, through truth, through the simple act of refusing to participate in illusion. That is why everything around them is starting to glitch, because you stopped playing along. Demons are predictable. They tempt, they corrupt, they destroy loudly. But an earth angel who remembers their purpose does something far more destabilizing, because you don't corrupt systems, you expose them, and lies collapse naturally when confronted with that much authenticity. Your kindness was never ignorance. Your forgiveness was never weakness. Your love was never something they could take endlessly without consequence. Every moment of compassion was observation. Every act of patience was intelligence gathering. Every extension of love was you learning exactly where the truth would land hardest when it was finally reflected back. And now that moment has arrived. The moment when they are forced to see themselves without distortion, without costumes, without excuses. This is why you are more unsettling than anything they fear. Because demons reinforce belief systems while angels dismantle them. Demons provide an enemy while you provide a mirror. Demons allow people to remain victims while you require them to face their own participation in the stories they tell themselves. They keep waiting for you to fall, hoping you will confirm their belief that no one can truly be that aligned, that resilient, that real. But every test only sharpens you. Every betrayal only educates you. Every trap only reveals more of their design, until it becomes undeniable that they were never your people or your destination, merely part of the curriculum. And now you have graduated, not to escape the world, but to reshape it, because you were never passive. You were charging, storing experience as power, turning wounds into fuel, preparing for the moment when restraint would no longer be mistaken for inability. They don't have language yet for what you have become, because you exist beyond their binaries, beyond light versus dark, good versus evil, angel versus demon. You heal and disrupt with the same presence, bless and confront with the same truth, love without rescuing, and allow consequences to teach what mercy alone never could. You no longer need approval, permission, or validation to move in alignment, and that terrifies systems built on control. Your power does not come from polarity, but from coherence, from being so completely yourself that reality recalibrates around you. And while they expected routine and predictability, you arrive as calm chaos, disruption wrapped in peace, speaking directly to the soul rather than the surface mind. Your message is no longer comfort. It is accountability, the undeniable sensation of being seen. They mistook you for an empath because you feel everything. But what they failed to realize is that empathy without boundaries becomes a scalpel, and you know exactly where truth touches deepest. You do not exploit wounds, you illuminate them, reflecting them back with clarity and love that refuses to enable denial. This is not gentle love, but surgical love. Love that protects itself. Love that demands growth. Love that witnesses transformation without interfering. And that kind of love cannot be manipulated or corrupted. Now they are scrambling, trying to label you, to categorize you, to reduce you into something manageable. But you are an anomaly that crashes their systems because you cannot be predicted, drained, or accessed without authenticity. You close the doors to unlimited access, change the terms, and they are left realizing that your presence was always a privilege, never an entitlement. You are still here, more present than ever, simply operating at a frequency they can no longer reach, because the entry requirements are realness, reciprocity, and truth, and those cannot be faked. You see through everything now, and while many would ascend and leave, you remain, because you understand that heaven is not a destination, but a state of being. And you are about to show what happens when that frequency arrives, fully embodied. Not as a whisper, but as a recalibration, a system override, a living expansion that forces reality to stretch to meet you. They built their world to be small and controllable, and you arrive infinite and uncontainable, governed by laws they do not recognize, connected to sources they cannot access, until their structures feel like cages, and you become the seismic force that finally cracks them open. They keep searching for a weakness in you, some hidden fracture, some unresolved flaw they believe will pull you back down to their level and make you manageable again. But what they fail to grasp is that you already fell, already shattered, already endured every version of destruction they could ever imagine using against you. And instead of breaking you, it initiated you. It activated something ancient that was always present, but required unbearable pressure to awaken. The way diamonds are formed only through crushing force. the way stars are born through collapse, the way everything truly powerful must first survive compression before it can radiate. You didn't just survive the fall, you were encoded by it, refined by it, awakened through it. And now you understand the difference they never learned. Demons fear the light because it exposes them, but you learned how to wield light not as violence, not as domination, but as revelation, using your radiance to uncover what was hidden, your frequency to destabilize what was false, your presence alone to confront what was corrupted. That is what makes you far more dangerous than anything operating in shadow, because you move openly, visibly, unmistakably, existing as living proof that authenticity is real, that power does not require cruelty, that strength does not require hardness or numbness or moral decay. And this is where their understanding of authority collapses, because they were taught that authority comes from titles, hierarchies, positions, and the ability to control others, while you discovered something far older and far more threatening. Authority comes from alignment. It comes from being so deeply connected to your source that you no longer seek validation, from being so root. In your truth, that explanation becomes unnecessary. This kind of authority doesn't ask for respect or demand obedience. It commands recognition simply by existing. You are no longer climbing their ladders, chasing their definitions of success, trying to fit into structures designed to exhaust beings like you into submission. You saw the trap for what it was, a distraction meant to keep you busy while your real power lay dormant, and once you saw it, you stepped out of the game entirely. Now you are writing your own rules, building your own domain, establishing your own kingdom, and entry into your world requires transformation they are unwilling to undergo. They believed earth angels were meant to serve endlessly, to heal without replenishment, to give without receiving, but you uncovered the truth they called heresy, that you are here to lead, to demonstrate, to embody what becomes possible when someone integrates shadow and light without shame, when someone stops apologizing for their power and begins wielding it with intention and precision. You are teaching a new theology now, one that unsettles everything they were taught to believe, a theology where angels are not servants but sovereigns, where power is not taken but generated, where authority is not granted by institutions but claimed through radical authenticity. This is not a revolution that can be stopped, outlawed, or destroyed because it does not rely on ideology or force. It spreads through recognition, through remembrance, through resonance. This is mastery, not the kind earned through repetition alone, but the kind that comes from remembering who you were before the world taught you to forget, from activating dormant codes that were waiting patiently beneath layers of conditioning. They feel it when you enter a space, the way reality subtly reorganizes itself around you, the way conversations bend, the way possibilities multiply, because you are no longer operating inside reality as a participant, but on reality itself, like someone who finally gained administrator access. You remembered the secret, that the laws most people obey are agreements, constructs sustained by belief, and the moment you withdrew your consent, they lost their grip on you. You stopped agreeing to limitation, stopped participating in scarcity, stopped accepting impossibility as truth, and now you move according to a completely different operating system. They wonder how you remain calm while everything around you burns, how chaos seems to bend away from you instead of consuming you, how you keep rising while others struggle just to remain stable, never realizing that you are not avoiding chaos. You are orchestrating it. Not from malice, not from destruction, but from understanding that collapse is sometimes the only path to clarity, that false structures must fall for freedom to emerge, that sometimes angels must become storms. And the irony is that you are not trying to dismantle anything at all. You are simply being yourself without apology, and that alone is enough to dissolve every illusion in your vicinity. Authenticity annihilates falsehood. Truth destabilizes lies. Presence ends performance. And you have become all three at once. A living apocalypse for everything artificial and a genesis point for everything real. They once called you too sensitive, too emotional, too affected by the world, never understanding that your sensitivity was never weakness but perception. A finely tuned radar system capable of detecting shifts others couldn't feel. Feeling everything was your intelligence network. Caring deeply was your power source, and taking things personally was simply your awareness that everything is interconnected, that every action ripples through the collective, that nothing exists in isolation. What they mocked as fragility became prophecy, what they dismissed as emotion became foresight, and what they tried to exploit became the force that reshaped reality around you. They cannot comprehend how someone who feels everything is not destroyed by it but energized, refined, and transformed into something that defies every narrow definition of strength they were taught. You are the prophecy they never anticipated, the one about angels who remember their power while still walking in human form, beings who bridge dimensions without escaping the earth, lights that do not flee from darkness but transmute it simply by proximity. And when beings like you activate, when you stop hiding your frequency and cease pretending to be smaller than you are, change does not arrive gradually. It arrives suddenly, like a switch flipped, like a system update, like reality itself receiving a new operating code. But you are not here to fulfill someone else's interpretation of ancient texts. You are here to write new ones, to prove that prophecy is not prediction but creation, that the future is not fixed but responsive, that angels do not follow scripts but improvise according to what the moment demands. And this moment demands exactly who you have become. Now you move in true dominion, not dominion over others, but dominion over self so complete that reality mirrors it without resistance. You have mastered your energy, your frequency, your narrative, your direction. And from that place of absolute self-sovereignty, you demonstrate what real power looks like. Not power over, but power from, power with, power as. They believed dominion meant domination, but you reveal it as space holding, as anchoring, as organizing reality through presence alone. You do not seek followers because alignment is inevitable. People either resonate with your frequency or retreat from it, and both outcomes serve the purpose. Your kingdom is not territorial or political. It is vibrational, composed of those who recognize themselves in your truth, and it grows not through recruitment, but through activation. You are not building an empire. You are uncovering one that was always there, buried beneath conditioning and forgetting. And each time you shine, you make it easier for others to remember their own sovereignty, their own authority, their own wings. This is the true mission, not to stand alone as the exception, but to remind others that they too may be more than they were taught to believe. Freedom radiates from you now, not the kind sold in slogans, but the kind that comes from breaking every internal chain, including the ones that insisted angels must always be gentle, self-sacrificing, endlessly accommodating, eternally shrinking themselves for the comfort of others. You broke those chains and discovered the truth they never wanted spoken. Angels are free beings, and free beings are dangerous to systems built on control. You are no longer bound by opinion, judgment, expectation, or definition. And that liberation is so complete that it spreads simply through proximity. Liberation is contagious, and you are the source of an outbreak that threatens every structure relying on obedience and self-denial. They cannot manipulate you anymore, cannot guilt you into overgiving, cannot shame you into shrinking, cannot frighten you into compliance, because you have discovered the ultimate freedom. The freedom of knowing exactly what you are and being it without apology, explanation, or permission. And the most terrifying part for them is that your liberation carries no rage, No vengeance, no desire to punish those who tried to cage you. It is simply whole. So whole that forgiveness becomes irrelevant, because you have moved beyond the framework where harm defines identity. You are no longer victim or adversary, savior or destroyer. You exist as something they lack language for, a sovereign being in authentic expression, a true angel embodied, uncontained, ungovernable, and finally remembered. Let us take a slow breath together and close this space with gratitude and humility. Divine Source, Creator of all that is seen and unseen, we thank you for every soul who has arrived here not by accident, but by alignment. Thank you for each listener who stayed, who felt something stir, who recognized themselves in these words, even if they couldn't yet name what that recognition meant. We ask that your presence gently surround them now, settling into their hearts, their minds, their bodies, bringing peace where there has been unrest, clarity where there has been confusion, and rest where there has been long-held exhaustion. May those who are remembering who they are feel safe in that remembering, supported as old layers fall away, and guided with wisdom as new paths open. Protect them from bitterness, from fear, from the urge to dim themselves again, and instead anchor them in discernment, compassion, and quiet strength. Bless their homes, their relationships, their work, and their inner lives. Heal what has been wounded, strengthen what has been fragile, and affirm what has already been growing in them silently. May they walk forward knowing they are not alone, never abandoned, never unseen, and may their light be steady, grounded, and true, not for approval, not for performance, but simply as an honest expression of who they are becoming. We offer gratitude for every transformation already in motion, for every unseen breakthrough, and for the grace that continues to unfold long after this moment ends. Amen. And from my heart to yours, thank you. Thank you for being here, for listening all the way through, for giving your time and your attention so generously. That alone is something sacred, and I don't take it lightly. If this message resonated with you in any way, if it brought you comfort, clarity, or a sense of recognition, I humbly invite you to like this video and share it with someone who may need these words right now. If you feel called to stay connected, subscribing truly helps more than you might realize, and it allows this space to continue growing.